What does it take to prep for a game? Let's find out right now. So here's my problem. I need to run a game tonight in about 4 hours. I have done almost no prep. I can tell you a few things about the game. I know it's a sci-fi game. It's the game that I'm in the process of designing right now. My two remaining players for today's game were kind enough to give me an opportunity to playtest, so here we are. I know we're going to have one personnel combat. I know we're going to have one astrogation attempt. Right? This is all my prep. I have a little bit more, but we'll talk about that in a bit. I know that the ship is named the Chunky Monkey, which I didn't come up with. I know that the captain's name is Grover. I know that it is an Orion's class freighter. So there's their ship, rendered lovingly in Lego, which I'm sure I'll have pictures of somewhere. And that's pretty much it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through my prep. My guess is that this will take between an hour and 2 hours, and I'll probably edit it down to something a little bit more, bite-sized for YouTube. All right, so in this document, this is the data that I have. It is what it is. The little bit of information that I have beyond that is to teach myself how the thing worked. I spent a lot of time running a bunch of turns in Stars Without Numbers faction turn. I think I'm going to use that as part of the setting, although none of that's really going to matter for a while. And I think I decided that they're from Echo, which is a planet undergoing a civil war. The 10-second version of this is that they fled the planet at the opening parts of the war with this freighter. I think they stole it. I think we're going to work with that. And I imagine we're, many jumps in, many many missions in, and they have sort of shed some of the crew that wasn't going to work out anyway, and they've the ones that remain are the ones that are serious probably isn't the right word, the ones that are stuck with being on this freighter. The other piece of prep that I did, I guess I have almost no prep, but I have not too much prep, is the blueprint that I built in preparation for running this thing. There we go. There he is. So that is the ship, the Chunky Monkey, and there's already one bug on it, right? Because I went through all the trouble of making all these things, and I put a bunch of things that I didn't know as storage. Usually what I do is I put question marks and a blank so we can write it in later, but there are no bathrooms on the ship. That's going to get uncomfortable. So I think I decided on the main deck, 18 through 22 are bathrooms. Seems like a thing they would need. We're going to say there are 7 crew total, including PCs and captain. And so we need to figure out roughly who those are so that we know roughly how much of a combat we can deal with. So the Captain Grover. Not Gover, Grover, thank you. The Astrogator, PC, Engineer, PC. We probably need a pilot. Maybe the first mate is also the pilot. We don't know anything about them. We've got, who else? We need like a 0G guy. Because there's always some kind of, bullshit you have to do with 0G operations. Maybe there's a security? So some dude with a gun who they, maybe picked up at the planet or picked up at a random space station and swindled into coming with them. I feel like this is not a very serious trading operation. Maybe it's just questionable. If the sector actually had any real law enforcement, Echo's kind of got bigger problems at the moment. Maybe they'd be hunted down by, repo men or something, because they didn't pay for the ship. Anyway, so how many do we have now? Is that 6? That's 6. And then maybe we have let's have a random spacer, like a traveler. Ooh, Tarveler, nice. Very much like Traveler, just different. So we have a traveler on board who is there he's sightseeing. I think they're going to Scarfy just because I like the name of it. So where are they coming from? They're going to Scarfy. So where are they coming from? Are they coming from Astra? Because I think House Aramindes is there too. And that would be a thing. So here's one of those ways that our brains can sort of make associations. I'm coming from a planet owned by one faction. I'm going to a system that's owned by the same faction. Am I running something for them? Maybe. Let's go with that. Does that make sense? I think that doesn't make sense. Again, here's how we get surprised, because I think that wouldn't make sense because they are hostile. House Ermendes, yes, they are. They are hostile. Hostile imperialists. And why are they doing this? They're hostile to the players, but are they desperate? The house is hostile. Why is this okay? Oh, okay. So here we go. This is fun. This is the juice. They're being set up. They're being set up by someone in that system. They need to launder something, maybe. And the pirates are being sent by the house being sent by their employer, right, to cover up this problem, right? They have, what are they hauling? Yeah, okay, this is good. So this is perfect, right? They've been set up by the house to carry something. I imagine it's not even something big. It's probably something small. Something small, probably with some other kind of other bullshit that they don't, that isn't important to them, but enough that it makes it look plausible. And they're sending them along to Yonikos, and the pirates know exactly where they're going to be because the course has been plotted. They know where they're going to come. They know where they're going to arrive, and they know when to expect them. So they just hang out and wait. We're going to give bonus dice to astrogation attempt because employers gave better charts. They helped them plot by giving them better charts, or maybe they gave them astrogator's assistant or something like that, piece of VI. That's cool. I love that. Okay, so we know. Well, I guess we're kind of going in the wrong order, but it doesn't really matter. Now we know why they're doing the thing that they're doing. I don't know what it is yet. And so in a world where we're trying to, universe, I guess, we're trying to build something much bigger. Here's the thread we can pull on. Here's the thing we can do. Where we say, this is where we started. And we start to see this House Aramendes thing. So they get a win-win, right? They get to launder whatever it is they're doing. They pay a little bit of money, right? And actually, maybe they pay on delivery. And send these pirates after them and solve two problems at once, right? They get rid of these people that they don't like, right? Because they're from off planet or whatever reason they don't like them. It sort of starts out this whole chain of events, right? So the next question is, what are they laundering? What are they trying to get rid of? They're getting rid of something. Maybe it's evidence. Maybe it's some kind of good. Maybe it's drugs. Are they running drugs and don't know it? It's better if they don't know it. Actually, maybe it's better if they do know it. I don't know. They're running something, and I kind of want to figure out what that is. I wonder if there are any online charts that can help us. So another sort of top tip, I guess, is a lot of people put this stuff online. 20, 30 years ago, this wasn't a thing because there was no online. And there are so many great tools out there. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Here's another table just randomly found on the internet. And they're... what they have is illegal personal scale mass trauma explosives. So these are, I don't know, bombs? Is those bombs? Good. Nice grammar. Bombs or grenades, or maybe they're bursters. Maybe they're personnel bursters. Burster in my game is a missile. Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. They're hauling arms. Maybe they don't want people to find out. They're illegal. So they're illegal by their own rules, but they're actually, because they're ruthless, I guess, they're sort of laundering it to themselves, maybe. Marked as something else. What else? Oh, cyber prosthetics. So, it's the best I've ever. They think they're hauling cyber prosthetics for the government from here to there, right? Going to send them out to a hospital or something. But what they're actually doing is they're hauling explosives that they're not supposed to have, that the government is trying to launder to itself, and being set up and attacked by pirates. Okay, so next up, I think we know something about the crew, any fleshing out of the world. I think we've sort of figured that out. I mean, we're only going to play for like 3-ish hours today, so we don't need too much in case it comes up, and it might not come up. You never really know. But I like having this stuff in my pocket, just in case anybody asks. And I think maybe Captain Grover, or whatever his name is, is, actually I think the crew is desperate. So he sort of jumped into this contract without asking many questions. And I imagine Captain Grover is kind of humorous because I like having at least one or more of the characters need to be fairly humorous because that's kind of game I run. I see him as sort of a foil for anything good that might happen in the game, where he's going to kind of set him up for bad times, kind of a force for chaos if nothing else. And we don't really know. We'll find out more once we start playing and try to figure it out. Although, we're not going to play this particular crew or this particular ship for very long. Maybe 2 or 3 sessions. Maybe we'll get back to it later. I don't know. Depends a lot. So I don't want to spend too awful much time. Whereas I love world building, as should be evidenced by the videos that I've recorded. This is not the time for it, right? We want to spend as little time here as we really can. And it's already been half an hour. So we got to get going. We got to get moving. A couple other things, not that I'm thinking about them, right? So another reason it's important to know this stuff, to know how they got this contract and what it all is in a world we want to telegraph that, right? One easy way to telegraph that, one sort of really obvious way to telegraph that is have the pirates talk it over, right? So in a world where they get captured or whatever before things go well, or if they capture one of the pirates, they kill most of them, they're probably going to murder most of them. And hire and find one. Maybe they find one who knows what's going on, and you can say, "Nope, we were hired by your employers. They didn't want you to have the things you have." Which point it probably comes up that they don't even know what they've got. Right? They think they're hauling. What is it? It's hilarious. Whatever it is, cyber prosthetics. So they think they're hauling, cybernetics, and they're not. They're hauling bombs. So I'm going to keep that in my back pocket just in case it comes up. But those are the kinds of things you kind of want to have. Now, also, even if you don't write it down. Those are associations that I think are very normal to make, and like I don't want my prep to get in the way of coming up with stuff on the spot, because coming up with stuff on the spot is sometimes where the juice is. Although my tip is, unless your memory's really good, and mine's pretty good, it's not that good, write that shit down, right? I always have one of those guys around, and that's why, because I will super forget that stuff, especially if we don't play every week. See, there was something useful in here. All right, so let's get on to our combat part. We have a crew of 7. At least one is not really a combatant. Although I think the 2 PCs might also not be real combatants. I guess we'll find out. I think either way it doesn't really matter. What we're going to do is we're going to come up with like one interesting mook and probably some number of less interesting mooks that are maybe better armed, better equipped than the players in their crew are. But ultimately, they're not supposed to be super tough. And if it turns out that we end up with an engineer who is also a gun enthusiast, which could happen, I guess. Depends on what they choose. Then just add maybe 2 of the tough guys, and or maybe 2 extra dudes. So we have a crew of 7. At least one is not really combatant, but one is the security guy. Or gal, I guess, we'll find out. So I want 1 or 2 tough dudes plus 3 to 5 mooks. All right, now we're going to completely switch gears. So we have enough to work with this combat, I think. It won't be that hard. I think, if anything, I will get bogged down in running all the NPCs and trying to figure out what they're doing. So I think most of them are going to be very similar. I think most of them are not combatants. So I think to a crew of non-combatants, these guys are probably a little more scary than they probably seem on paper. Or pixels, whichever. Now we are going to figure out who our crew is. We don't want to overdo this because overdoing it would be bad. I will not remember any of the details anyway. I will probably focus on 1 or 2 characters, probably the captain and somebody else, maybe the security guy. And I want to first generate some names, and what will come from those names is hopefully something useful. And we're generating some names. All right. Burgundy. Is he Grover Burgundy? I think he's Grover Burgundy. Long lost descendant of Ron Burgundy, I guess. It's what, 2800? It's been a long time. Who is our pilot? Let's go get back here and generate some more names. Isabel Kathleen. Is that backwards? I have no idea. I like that. Isabel Kathleen. Oops. So Isabel, I think, is her first name. And our astrogator is a PC, and our engineer is a PC. So who's our 0G guy? Let's give our 0G guy... Maybe he's Icelandic. Because, yeah, you need that. Guðlaug. Oh, yeah. Oh, Jesus. I can't put an Ev in here, can I? Andres. Well. That's an Ev. I'm going to forget that. I guess that's okay. Maybe they forgot what the Ev is. Maybe we have 2 Icelandics. Let's have 2 Icelandics. Oh man, that's just a great name. So I think our security person is a gal. It's Svana. Oh, that's also an Ev. Hydrun. This is why I like it. I imagine she's sort of a no-nonsense kind of security person. No-nonsense security person. Maybe she wears black ops all the time. Is that too stereotypical? Might be. Wears black ops type gear all the time. Sunglasses? Yeah, let's do that. Oh, they're mirror shades. Yes, they are. Oh, awesome. All right. And yeah, the more I think about her, I think she's tall and blonde. Short cropped. Is she a serious combat person? I think she's a serious combat person. I think I said something different earlier, but I can still change it because we're in design space. It's only after they become canon. It's not until no details ever sorted out until we see them on screen. And even then we might not. All right, what does she have? Does she have a combat rifle? Oh, here we go. Yeah, she's got a bolter. So a bolter is a handheld Gauss gun. So that is +8 damage. Oh man, that's really high. All right, anyway, she's got a bolter. What else has she got? Does she have an SMG? Or a combat rifle? I think a combat rifle? That seems a little too hardcore. The point that you have a bolter, like, do you need another gun? Yeah, you do. SMG. So I think the traveler is named Frediano Orsola. And I think this person is barely armed. In fact, probably pulled it out of the store on the ship, because I'll bet you that person didn't have a firearm. So I imagine he has a knife. So is this a starry-eyed? Yeah. Traveler looking to see the sector. Hired on as an operator, doing random things that are always needed on a ship, right? This is probably well traveled in zero-G operations. Probably has done a couple spacewalks. Probably knows a little bit about fixing things, but probably not very much. In fact, maybe he's an apprentice. Maybe he's an unwilling apprentice to the engineer PC. That's something we should look at. I will let the PC decide whether that's cool or not. Those are the best. So Grover Burgundy. What are you, Grover Burgundy? Is he a poser? I think he's a poser. Combat knife. +2. Oh, +2 and I can throw it. +2 damage, range 4. I think he has something. Maybe he's got a holdout pistol. Yeah, let's do that. Holdout. Laser pistol. +3 damage. Range 15. And what armor does he have? I think he's probably a little bit of a fighter. Maybe he's one of the better fighters on the crew. So he's kind of incompetent as a captain. Oops. Frequently makes bad decisions deals, and is a roguish sort. So he stole the ship. He stole the ship with a bunch of people. And I will let the players sort out whether they were willing accomplices here or just sort of came along for the ride, or maybe they were just fleeing because they felt like they needed to, or whatever. Isabel Kathleen, I think, doesn't get along with the captain. So if she doesn't get along with the captain, why does she stick around here? There's got to be some reason. I'll mark it as a question. Why does she stay aboard the chunky monkey? We'll figure that out later. It doesn't really matter. I think she is not a combatant. So she probably has a simple flight suit. No, she probably has no armor. Pistol. And again, we'll go back and figure that out later. I'll let these folks figure out what they have. Zero G dude is almost always in a flight suit. Gudlag Andres, because that's an Ev. So I think he's a jokester, kind of practical jokes. And he's probably like one of the more interesting, more personable people on the ship. Maybe Frediano, maybe Freddy is fun to get along with. And you know what I like? I like dark humor. It's fairly common amongst my NPCs. I think he's got dark humor, but he's not sarcastic. So he's not really like my NPCs. And I think he's pretty good at what he does. So maybe he's like an ops guy on the ship. So he knows where all this stuff is. He knows he's the one who goes and requisitions it when they come to a place where they can like buy stuff. And maybe he always thought this was a lousy mission. I never trusted those guys. Those suits. So he's got a flight suit. I think he always wears it. Always wears it. Oh my gosh. Which probably implies he's a spacer of some sort. I think spacers get used to wearing flight suits on a regular basis, and that's just a thing they do. Actually, he probably has a rebreather suit instead. I like that better. Because you never know, like you're sort of one catastrophic failure from going out in airlock. So they probably wear those all the time. And I think maybe he's an okay fighter. So let's give him a light combat mesh. Armor's really low. That's just the way it is. And what is your weapon, Mr. Sir? I think he's got one weapon. I think he has an SMG or a bolter. No, a bolter's too hardcore for this guy. He's got a laser pistol. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got. We know why they're doing the thing they're doing. They're on a mission from to Ionikos, to Scarfi, from Astra, Uja Samaya. They are working for House Ermindes, who doesn't like them a lot, and maybe they were really sketchy when they signed the deal. They were probably really sketchy. They have cargo that they think is cyber prosthetics, so they think they're doing a good thing. Payment on arrival. They didn't ask enough questions, obviously, and their same employer has also set them up, and pirates will attack them and will be successful or otherwise. We don't know. We'll find out. I think both of those lead to very interesting places. We can sort that out during play. And pretty much they will get attacked on the end at the end of their jump. So we'll do the astrogation first, which is good. We'll end with a combat, maybe some fallout after that. We probably want to give a little bit of time to get to know some of the players and the characters and the other folks on the ship. And I think I want like one more thing. Yeah, let's add one more thing while we're at it. So we know what the combat's going to be. We know what those guys look like. These folks need stats. I'm not too worried about that. So I know that the bad guys are going to attack here. They're going to come through here. They might take the lift. They might split and go up. So depending on where the characters are, the player characters are, we'll see what happens. I do want to have 2 vignettes. Something breaks on the ship because it's a piece of junk. We want some that could either be comedic or desperate. So I want to roll randomly on what. Figure out what, or thank you, autocomplete. Or I'll just pick something. That's better too. Sometimes the charts are there just to look at them and see what things are available, and then pick one. Pick the one that you think is the most interesting. You don't have to be a slave to the chart, right? You're running the thing. So a lot of times, even if I make a chart, sometimes I'll just pick one off the chart. And that's fine. At the end of the day, the players certainly won't know. So that's 1 vignette, and I want to have give the PC, the engineer PC, something to do. We can try out fix it. Engineer rolls. Hopefully he's got the right skills. If not, that'll be even more hilarious. Freddy will help. That character could either be really funny or really annoying. I don't know. And we want to do an astrogation. Tent. And I think that's enough. I think that's all we need. In fact, if we weren't doing a playtest and I didn't go through this stuff in such high detail and wasn't talking it all over, this would probably go a little faster. We're at an hour and a half, and this amount of notes is unusual for me. I usually don't take quite this many. I might note down the names and some other stuff. I guess this is mostly like gear and basics. There's an expectation sometimes, I think it depends on your tradition, to go through in very, very fine detail a lot of this stuff. And you don't need to. Need is a strong word. At the end of the day, if you have enough to run your thing, or have enough to be able to make up the stuff that you need to run your thing, that's all you really need. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll say maybe this much, right? So this is the zero G guy. This is his name. Here's a little bit about him. If he's got any lines that I want to, or ideas that I want to push forward, I might write those down. But a lot of times I'll just remember the rough idea of what he wants. And having a listing of his gear is pretty useful, although not always useful. A lot of stuff you can figure out on the fly, right? And so here's the way I think about this stuff. I can figure this out here in prep, where there's maybe a little less pressure. I have a little bit more time to go into some detail. It's also great when I can make associations across things and change things on both sides if I have to. Or I can make it up just as easily on the fly. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. In fact, generally speaking, I don't care what gear they have until the question comes up, what gear are they wearing? I don't know. I think for things like armor and things like clothes, like I like to have a rough idea what they look like. Sometimes I'll have an archetype in mind, and that's good, right? Because you can pull things from the archetype when the details need to be pulled out. But I think that's all pretty standard stuff. Hope so. All right, so we are now post-game. It is now late on Sunday night. I want to take a note here while it's still relatively fresh in my mind. I think the RP parts went fine. We learned a lot about the crew. We learned a lot about the players. We did end up with 2 characters. We didn't ask too many questions about them through a variety of really bad rolls and other complications. We learned just how broken the ship is, and the answer is pretty broken. Pretty much right out of the gates, we started rolling for which things were broken, and one of the things that was broken was the astrogator's console. That's very bad. And through the next handful of rolls, how badly is it broken? It was really broken. In fact, we decided that it caught on fire. And so the first opening scene of the game was trying to put out the astrogator's console from being on fire and then trying to repair it afterward. That was interesting. We decided that, again, through fiction, through play, that the crew has not had the money to pay for maintenance for a really long time. And maintenance on the ship is not trivial. So big chunks of it are not working. The combat itself actually went pretty smoothly, all things considered. The bad guys worked the way I thought they would. The good guys worked pretty much the way I thought they would. The player characters ended up, having a pretty big effect on that, which is again what you want. The engineer ended up like popping open the airlock, and 3 of the bad guys got spaced basically and closed the airlock. When he realized just how bad of an idea that was, is everybody started like heading toward the airlock. I think there's sort of an interesting dynamic where I think D&D and other games sort of teach us that what we should be doing is firing our guns or shooting our bows or hitting them with our swords or whatever it is we're using. And in this particular case, I think that's not always the right choice. I think what I want is for there to be more options available to players. So just going through my list of notes here, we didn't go into the whys of what they're doing. We did talk a lot about the whats. I think they still haven't asked questions about what the cargo is yet, and we'll see what happens. They did disable the pirate ship. They're going to try to board it and try to see what things they can pull off of it. We learned that Svanna is sort of hardcore, more hardcore than expected. It sort of worked out in play. Sometimes it doesn't. Freddy is kind of an annoying kid, which is kind of, I thought, where we were going. Goodlog ended up being almost killed, and so we're probably not going to get to learn too much about him until a lot more time passes. Isabel, the first mate, we didn't get too much with. She was also very badly injured, but the captain is pretty incompetent, which is again what we wanted, and relatively sort of self-serving. I think that's what I'm looking for. So that's all good. Overall, I think it all went pretty well. I had exactly the things that I needed when I needed them. I had probably the only real deficiency was not breaking out the stat blocks better, but that will get better with time. We got to learn about the crew. We got to learn about the ship. We learned a little bit about the PCs, although not as much as I would have liked. Hopefully next time we'll learn more about them. We started to unfold some of the things that might go on. Again, I'm not going to look too far in the future. It's really not the kind of game. And I'm going to call this a pretty good success. I think my players were happy. I think I'm pretty happy with how it went. It's always good to come away from a gaming table with good feelings, where you feel like everybody had fun. And I think that's it for now. Maybe we'll do another one of these in a couple weeks.